Hey, what's up guys? So I'm a retired hedge fund quant, and in this video I'm going to teach you guys how you can retire early too. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, dude, you were only able to retire early because you had a big income. Yeah, there's truth to that, but in this video I'm going to teach you how you can retire early even with a small income, or even if you have a low IQ. So I know that there's a lot of videos like this on the internet, but few will probably make that claim. Now, you mainly want to focus on building your nest egg, and I'm going to go into that in the video. But as you build your nest egg, you want to think about how to invest it as well. And I think there's a little bit too much talk about, oh, how much should I put in international stocks versus domestic stocks? But I don't think people realize that the correlation between international and domestic stocks is slowly converging to one as globalization spreads its tentacles across the world. You just got the same strip malls across Dubai and Thailand and Europe with the same Chipotle's and McDonald's and Starbucks. So it's not really a concern about where to diversify. You know, Bitcoin and NASDAQ is starting to correlate more heavily as guys like Michael Saylor start holding way more Bitcoin in his companies, and all these other tech companies do the same and invest in blockchain technology. And even purely from a hedge fund perspective, it makes sense that all asset classes would start correlating, because one of the main things hedge funds do is they find these newer, less liquid asset classes, and they use a more liquid asset class as a proxy for how things should be priced in that new asset class. And so it's basically the hedge fund and players like it forcing everything to move in a similar way. And so it's hard to find diversification. The same big shocks like, wars in Iran are going to shock everything in the same way. And yeah, you could put your money in gold, but this is an asset class that has a way higher implied volatility and realized volatility than the S&P 500, despite only averaging 3% annual returns over the last 100 years. And so, do you really want to put your money in an asset class that has such a terrible risk to reward ratio just to diversify your investments? I mean, that's a call you're going to have to make, but I would say for most people, a simple target date fund is sufficient, and then you're just done thinking about it. And so what do you focus on? You focus on growing your nest egg. I like to view that as trying to get a satellite to pick up enough speed so that it can reach escape velocity and fly out of orbit. And in this example, of course, the outer space is financial freedom, and the Earth is being a wage slave stuck in the rat race. And this gravitational pull is trying to get you to be stuck in the rat race. So let's focus on that. Let's focus on how to get your nest egg big enough to reach escape velocity. So at the most foundational level, you get rich by spending less than you earn. So I drew these three different graphs for a dumb person, a smart person, and a wise person. The y-axis is money and the x-axis is time. So you have these two different lines, right? Income and spending. And for a dumb person, you'll notice that the income remains relatively flat over time. So the way a dumb person can get rich is they have to decrease their spending in a careful, methodical way such that the savings amount grows. An example of this is like your penny pinching grandma who's cutting coupons to try to shave off small amounts of money from her grocery bills. Or everyone probably has a friend who is really big on credit card churning stuff, where you open new credit cards and get the sign-on bonus, and then you roll it over into some other bonus point category. And there's a whole game people play with all this credit card bonus stuff, or they roll over their brokerage accounts from one brokerage account to another to capture the bonus. And, you can get lost playing all these games and having 15 credit cards. And that's a good example of people who are trying to get rich through a dumb person's mentality, which is to decrease spending as much as possible. Like your grandma who says, a penny saved is a penny earned. That's the mentality. Reduce spending as much as possible. And you can understand why a dumb person would do that, because they can't get this income line to go up. Now, let's talk about the smart person. I've literally sat in on conversations between the dumb person and the smart person where they argue over how to get rich. And the dumb person using this mentality was arguing to the smart person, why don't you get the annual commuter pass for the train? You can save roughly $200 doing that. It's also pre-tax, so you can save another $100 there. And the smart person was just like, in that 30 minutes it takes me to fill out all that paperwork and make a phone call to confirm that everything went through carefully, I could be teaching myself some new AI technology that'll probably double my salary over the next year. So why would I waste my time doing that? And his rebuttal was valid because he's a smart person. So he is capable of using that time more productively, more efficiently, such that his income will go up more aggressively than the spending will go down by using that 1 hour to get the annual commuter pass. But this was a difference in philosophy in terms of how to get rich between the dumb person and the smart person, because the dumb person can't conceptualize the fact that his time could be spent more efficiently because it hasn't been his experience over his lifetime. When he spends an hour trying to learn something, he's not much smarter after that hour. So it's not going to convert into a higher income for him. So this is the main strategy that he's chosen to deploy, which is finding ways to meticulously reduce his spending. And so the smart person often relies on their own intelligence. And so they just fixate on getting this income line up. And then the temptation to increase their spending is always there. But ideally, if they want to be responsible, they'll keep the gap between income and spending big enough so that they can sock away money in savings. Now, what is the wise person? A wise person can be either dumb or smart, but they're wise in that they understand that to win the game of life and make money, you want to both be playing offense and defense. So you want to do whatever you can to increase your income streams, but you also want to do whatever you can to reduce your spending. So they deploy the strategies from both the dumb person and the smart person. And the wise person's strategy requires a good amount of discipline. It's tempting to increase your spending as your income goes up. And so to decrease your spending as your income goes up such that you can more aggressively save and benefit from compound returns requires a wise and disciplined mentality. Now, why did I bother to break this down into 3 different graphs like this? It isn't because I'm a mean-spirited person that wants to mock dumb people. It's because I've listened in on conversations between these 3 prototypical people and realized that a lot of people don't do enough self-reflection to realize who they are in these graphs. So they misallocate their time and efforts. For example, a lot of dumb people will be given smart person advice. A dumb person might be told, don't waste your time, trying to save on lattes and having roommates and stuff. That's peasant thinking. Just start a company with me. We're going to pitch it to the venture capitalists. We're going to get really rich. So you're hung up on the wrong things, but they don't realize they're a dumb person. And so they spend all this time trying to get this income graph up, but their income graph stays flat and they don't decrease their spending. So, years and decades later, this gap for savings remains really small. On the flip side, you get a smart person who is given advice of a dumb person. So I've seen people who are hyper intelligent, but they get caught up into the miserly FIRE movement way of thinking. They'll be sitting at their job when they could just hustle and get promoted and become the director of their company. They're on their phone moving their brokerage account around and trying to capture some sign-on bonus from Fidelity to E-Trade, misallocating their labor. They're a smart person, so they shouldn't get so fixated on all these dumb people ways of reducing spending. The hourly rate for their time is more powerful. So they should put less effort onto reducing spending and put more effort into increasing their income because they have the intelligence to do that. And that's why I split this up into 3 categories. Now, both the dumb person and the smart person, at some point, hopefully they graduate to being the wise person, which is having the wisdom to know whether you're dumb or smart and to optimize the ratio between trying to use your time to increase your income versus decreasing your spending. If you just know you're not that smart of a person, you want to get 15 credit cards and do all the credit card churning and all those other little games people play to reduce spending. Airbnb your place out when you go on a vacation, and you want to do all those little frugality hacks. You just know you're not going to get your income much higher based on your natural limitations of your intelligence. And this is when you reach the point of being wise. All right, well, that's the video. I hope I didn't offend too many people. Let me know if you have any disagreements in the comments. Take care.